Bezos Hashem. Mitzimche, let's start the Gemara Shir Maseches Psachim. We are learning the halachas of a Gemara slash halacha of Bdikas chametz. Today we will touch on a very interesting issue. What happens if you rented an apartment, a house for Pesach? It was meant to be clean for Pesach. That was the agreement. And you come, and lo and behold, the place is not clean for Pesach. The person told you, the landlord told you that it will be for sure clean for Pesach, and you find out that it's not. What's halacha? Can you cancel the deal? That will be the main question. But before we deal with this question, which is a new sugya, we still have some old debts from the previous sugya, which is stay with us, even if you're new in this year. Basically, and before we continue, let's not forget that this year is Le'ilu Neshama of a few people. Le'ilu Nishmas, my father, Menachem ben Akiva. Le'ilu Nishmas, Shalom and Tzvi Hirsch, and La'atzlacha and Hatzala of all the hostages. May they come out soon, very, very quickly. Redemption, Geula, we need it now. Pesach, Nisan, Esidin Ligoel, soon. So now, before we go on to the next sugya, we still have to remind ourselves of other halachas we learned in the Gemara about rental. Yeah, rental on Pesach. Yes, no, who's checking, why is checking. So basically, we know that, by now we know that if the schirus, the rental, started before Yudalit by night, right, before the Zman Chiyuv, the key was by the hands of the Soicher, the tenant, he has to do the bdika, right? Now the question is, let's say he comes there, Yudalit in the morning. So by night, the keys were still in the hands of the maskil, and the maskil, the landlord, was supposed to do the bdika. The landlord is nowhere to be found, and we don't know. Do we assume that he fulfilled his halachic chiyuv? Yes or no? Right? That was a question. So basically, we said as follows. We said, if you can find out and call him, text him, email him, or run after him, do that. Even though there is la halacha, a chazaka that tells us that a frum person, even an amaretz, but a shomer mitzvahs person, probably does bdikas chometz if the chiyuv was his. It was last night, late or leudalid. We assume that he did the bdika, but it's always better to ask if you can. And this is something which I owe you an answer, and we'll elaborate on this a little bit in Tosfos. And before Tosfos, let's just summarize what we saw yesterday at the end of the sugya, that if the guy is not around, we can assume the house was checked for Pesach, because even in Maratzim, when it comes to chametz, Pesach, it's even today it's like that. People clean their houses, people do the bdika, even if they're not the biggest tzaddikim in the world. The other chiddush was regarding women and children and avadim, that even people are otherwise not ne'emanim for other things, yeah, but those people are ne'eman for what? For the rabbanon. In other words, if since the bdikas chometz was only the rabbanon, because with the oraisa it's enough to verbalize the bitul and say the chometz is not mine, so therefore the bdika is the rabbanon. Since rabbanon are the ones who established bdika, even in case of it's only even in case of bitul, bdika is only the rabbanon. So hem omu vehem omu. Chazal also said that for such cases, avodim, ktanim of chinuch age, and women are also believed. And we discussed the fact that women are believed anyways on many, many things in halacha, such as kashrus, nida, etc. Because chometz, had it been the oraisa, they would be believed because they would be lazy on that area of halacha. It's not rami ale, it's not something that's on their mind. Then we saw Tosfos, which I would like to repeat again and continue a little bit. Tosfos the Maschil Lamishum Chizkos Boduk Tema. Tosfos is asking a question. What was the case of Chizkos Boduk? Remember the case? We had a case of a house which is Chizkos Boduk. The house was supposed to be and assumed to be Boduk, and then you ask the woman or the child or the Eved, did your father do the Bdika? Or did you do the Bdika? That's another Shaila. And they say yes. So we believe them. And then the Gemara says, no, we believe them because it's supposed to be boduk. One, you need both. Tema, ask Tosfos, Ma'asal Kadaitach, what did you think? If the house is supposed to be assumed to be muchzik to be boduk, then what do we need their statement at all? Afterwards, we're going to give the answer that it's not cheskes boduk. Right now, we think that it's cheskes boduk. So what do we need the statement whatsoever, right? I don't need to tell you have two eyes. I can see you have two eyes. Baruch Hashem. Voimeri, the Meiri Kigon Shabalabais Ba'ir. Oh, the story here is Balabais is still in town and available. I could ask him and should ask him, did you do the bdika? Afal gav cheskos boduk. Even though a regular Jewish home, even a Ma'oretz, is supposed to be assumed to be boduk, since he's in town and I have the ability to ask him, I should find out, go the extra mile and not rely on chazaka. Chazaka means an assumption, maybe a strong assumption, still an assumption. It's not like you having two eyes. It's like you being, I don't know, American. I assume you have American passport. I never saw it in my eyes, in front of my eyes. Yeah. So, yeah, you do. I know. Yeah. So you still have to ask him because it's just chazaka. It's an assumption. You have to find out and not just assume. Here comes the punchline. Oh, so now that's where they come into play. Those women, children, and avodim that are usually not believed, here we say, for that level of extra birur, of it's muchzak to be baduk, but I still have to do that extra, as we say in Hebrew, leyeter bitachon, to be extra safe, to be on the safe side. For that, the statement of Noshim Avodim is good enough. Now, people started asking me yesterday very tricky questions. Are you serious? Are you telling me, because that's what we say in the halacha, that you have to ask even though there's a chazaka. So guys started asking me yesterday questions, and you guys had good questions. Baruch Hashem, tell me the chachamim, you guys. And you're asking me, do I really have to ask my wife every time before she serves me supper? Darling, honey, is it kosher? You'll find yourself in Beis Din very soon. Chas v'shalom, Chalila, right? Yeah. The marriage counselors will make a lot of money from that, he doesn't trust me with the kashrus. Is that so? Lo metzino dover kazeh. Leave mikveh alone. Mikveh is a different story. But yeah. Afal gav. Here comes your answer. Here comes the answer by Tosfos' own question. That's where we finished off yesterday. We're in Tosfos' fourth line. Afal gav degabi tevel samchinan cheskes chaver ve'ein tzorch afilu lishol. Aha. In our very own Gemara, we saw that the chaver, even a chaver who died, lo aleinu, we know that a chaver who has fruit in his kitchen, in his granary, if they're meant to be meiser, we know he's meiser them in a jiffy, in a second, and for sure they're gemeiser. You don't have to ask him. You go to a chaver's house. Who's a chaver? A good shomer mitzvahs charedi person who keeps good achsherim. That's equivalent today. You can highly assume that everything in his house is kosher, and you don't have to ask him why. What's the difference? And you don't have to ask your wife. Yeah, I hope all the wives are happy with me now. Yeah? You don't have to ask your wife every time if it's kosher. I'll tell you something later. Because there we're talking about food. The chaver knows that he's giving food to other people, or other people come to his house to eat, or your wife is hosting you in the kitchen serving you supper. When it comes to him, a kosher person, feeding another guy something that would be osur, of course he was metaken it and wasn't, he took the meiser, shiloh v'delid michshol. Yeah, because there's very high risk over here. If he knows that if in his kitchen he has non-gemeisered stuff, people will eat from that meiser. That's terrible. It's chiyuv misei b'dei shamayim. The Gemara in Yuma says to eat not meiser is worse than eating treif. Yes. Yeah. Aval gabi b'dika. So why is it that over here, when it comes to assumingly muchzak checked house, I do have to run after Mr. Ma'oretz or Mr. Talmid Chacham and say, hey, Mister, are you sure you checked? Here you do have to find out the extra mile. Why? Very good. Over here, what would be if the house is not checked? Yeah, let's enter the mind of the person who's in a rush to go out. Yeah, he rented his rental unit to someone. Now he's rushing out to his holiday in the Bahamas, wherever he's going. Now he's not very, very keen on checking, because even if he won't, we assume he checked. We assume he did, but it's not billion% assumption, because even if he left behind chametz, the Isser is not as severe. Yes, he's not feeding chametz. He's not feeding Isser. He's leaving me with chametz that I should clean. Or even if I'm ever Bala Rabbalimot, it's not as bad as eating chametz, for sure not. No. Yeah, of course. To be in a house that there was chametz in it is not as bad as eating Isser. That's understood, obviously, right? And therefore, because the Isser is not as severe, he may be a little bit more relaxed about it. So that's very nice. Mitzad echad, we say that Pesach and Dikas chametz and Bir chametz, blah, 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 is kept by everybody, even a Maratzin. And therefore, I can assume that Mistome, it's been checked. So if the Balabais is not around, not him, not his wife, he doesn't answer the phone, he's now in a cruise liner, then I can stay in the house and everything is fine. Yes, I can. Because the Easter is not so severe, on the other hand, there is a certain percentage, some margin of error there that he may feel maybe didn't check it, because he says not the end of the world if the house is unchecked, he says to himself, and therefore, if possible, I can ask him. And the Chiddush is, if he's not around, I can also ask his wife and children. I'm not going to the second part of Tosfos because we have a lot of homework today. But that's basically, and therefore, my friends, you do not have to ask your wife if the food is kosher every time because your wife's Baruch Hashem, kosher women, and we highly, highly, highly assume that an Isha Keshera doesn't feed her husband treif. So you don't have to ask every time. Mikveh, I didn't have time to find out, but even mikveh, most opinions don't say it have to ask if she went to mikveh. It's a machlok. There's a certain cheshbon over there. I'm not sure why, but mistaminat. Unless she made lamshana, it's also we're not learning Tarsa Mishpacha now. Yeah, yeah. What do you want to ask? Yeah, good. Thank you, Reb David, for the beautiful addition. Very nice, very nice. What I was saying is that even if the bdika is on a doraisa level, the Isser is not as severe as feeding Isser. You're adding something very correct, and that is that in most cases people do bitul. So even if the house is not checked, it's only the rabbanon, right? So the rabbanon is not as makmid. Very nice, very good. Okay. So, although I promised to see Mishnah Berurah, there is another sugya first, another very short but very mind-boggling sugya, also to do with maskir. Okay, once we're going to have both, and both sugyas are mentioned together in the same sif in the Shulchan Aruch, in the same siman, Taf Lamed Zayin tells. Okay, and therefore we should first look at the sugya and then we'll see all four, the whole shebang, the whole Mishnah Berurah in one go. Be'ezras Hashem. Not all the Shulchan Aruch. Okay, we'll see. Weiter. Let's now continue. Iboilu. We're in the two dots. Daled Omud Beis, Maseches Psachim. Two dots. Line starts with the word B'derabbanon. Iboilu. They had a question in the Beis Medrash. This question is a combination of Isurim and Dinei Mominus. Okay? A person rented his house to his friend for Pesach. Bechezkas boduk. The word bechezkas here has a lot of meaning. Let's assume bechezkas means it was understood. It was assumed that the house was checked. There's a discussion in Rishonim here. Was it clearly stated that the house is clean for Pesach or not? Or it was just understood? Or maybe every house is supposed to be, we just saw a minute ago, or every Jewish home is supposed to be boduk? There will be a discussion. Let's just leave the term open. Yeah? I let's say I'm the victim over here. I'm the tenant. I'm the holiday maker. I came into that apartment assuming that it's baduk for whichever reason. I assumed it was checked. I don't need to check it now. Baduk. Oh, disaster. He finds some cookies over there. He finds horrible crumbs over here. He opens the fridge. Hashem Yishmor. There is I don't know, some kind of a chametz thing, whatever that is, some cake. Not baduk. Not baduk. Now I have the whole headache of having to check it myself. Where's the balabais? You know where it is? Saint Lucia. Very nice. So now go shout at him. Mahu. The question is, what would the halacha be mominous wise? Mi havi kemekachtos aloi. In other words, the fact that I'm very annoyed, or so we assume, by having to check it is a given. I'm now standing where? In Beis Din. And I claim mekachtos, which means I'm unhappy with the fact that I have to check it, l'choiro. And not only that, I want to cancel the deal. The guy is now, yeah, let's say the person is not in St. Lucia. Let's say now he quickly came back. And I claim now, Mister, I'm not staying here. I want to cancel the deal. If I have to check it, it's not a done deal. In other words, we all know that once you shook your hand, love of shook your hand, once you made a kinyan, you can't go back on, yeah, on your word. It's a done deal. But if it's mekachtos, let's say you're giving me, I want to buy cake from you, a nice fancy big cake for my grandson's halakha on Thursday, Baruch Hashem. And what? And instead of a cake, I opened the beautiful box. Smells good. You know what's inside? Very, very nice, fashionable shoes. I want to buy cake, not shoes. Then you can't say, well, I'm canceling the deal. It's mekachtos. The deal was a mistake to begin with. That's a question. Do we say that if the house is not checked, it's such an important, pivotal point here, so vital, that it's just mekachtos. I wanted to come to a clean house for Pesach. You crazy, excuse me. Or maybe it's not so bad. Yeah, and it's not enough of a reason to cancel the whole deal. And therefore, I should stay in the house and should check it myself or force him to check. We'll see what. That's a question. It's a question in Dina moments, really. Toshma, yeah, let's hear the Memra. Domer Abaye. Comes Abaye and says, the Heilige Abaye, Lo mi baye ba'asar de lo yavi agra v'bodku. There are two types of places. Some places, like as far as I know, all the places today, asal de lo yahavi agra, they don't give money, they don't pay people, and ubodku. In other words, apparently some people back then, or maybe today, maybe some very spoiled people in I don't know where, maybe they do it. I asked my American students, they told me that even in America, people don't do it. What is it? Do people actually pay someone to do the bdikas chametz for them? No. So if you're in a place where lo yavi agra, people that don't pay other people, they bodik themselves, like you do, like I do. If the bdikas chametz is not a financial issue, it's just an issue of tircha. I wasn't planning on crawling on all four, Yudalid morning and checking for 3 hours this house, right? But it's not involving money. It's not like I lost work for that, yeah? It's just a matter of me having to work hard. Then there's no claim on the side of the soicher. Why? The nichel le'inish l'kiyum mitzvah begufei. We're going to discuss this very interesting concept. Halacha, funnily enough, so to speak, we're going to see three Rishonim inside. Ooh, Iyun today. Yeah, you ready? Yeah, I know you are. So the halacha is interestingly siding with the maskil, saying that the soicher is just being spoiled because we have this strong halachic assumption that a person is happy to fulfill a mitzvah in his body. If I have a chance to do the mitzvah of Dikas Chometz, I am probably happy to do that. Yeah? Why am I shouting in Timin Beis Din? Probably that's an excuse because I really found a better place for free or for less. But the assumption is that I'm going against normal Jewish norm, yeah. And really, most people, most Yidden would like to check themselves to do the mitzvah begufei, and therefore I don't have a claim of mekach against the maskil. A lot of Rishonim are unhappy with that. We'll explain it later, but that's what we say. Ella, the Gemara gets even more extreme. Afilu be'asra de yahavi agra ubodku, even in some very rich, fancy place where they actually don't check themselves. The normal thing is to pay someone and have a paid boydek to do my bdikas chometz, even in such a place where I have to spend money. The guy, refuses to talk to me, and I claim it's a mekachtos. He says no mekachtos. I have to quickly call a professional boydek, pay him, I don't know, 500 shekels to do bdikas chometz for me. I lost money. Even then, wow. Wow, wow, wow. A person, yeah, we assume a person is happy to be Mekayim mitzvah with his money. Wow. Which means, even though I lost 500 shekels, yeah, I'm probably happy to use those 500 shekels for mitzvah, and therefore my taina is not a taina. Now, the Rishonim are obviously up in arms against, not against, surprised by the words of this Gemara. And so was I, the Havdil, yeah? The Ritva have some kind of, and yeah, I'm mechaven to Ritva many times, it's an ace, I don't know, yeah? If I was a really crazy guy, I would say then I'm a Gilgul, but I'm not. For the Ritva, I hope I'm not. Yeah, chas v'shalom for him. In any event, the story is as follows. What kind of story is that? L'chayra, let's speak out of, it sounds to be a very kind of froomy kind of Gemara. What do you mean? I'm standing in Beis Din. I understood that this place was supposed to be Boduk, right? Maybe there was even a condition. I don't know, but maybe. Most people check, or you told me you're checking, you lied to me. And now you're being a froomy saying, no, I'm supposed to be happy to don't worry about my mitzvahs. I want to do another mitzvah. I wanted to visit my shviger in the old age home, not to do bdikas chametz, and it was supposed to be baduk, right? You're using kilu a from idea of all Yidden happen to do mitzvah to support your ramos, your shvindler, right? What kind of thing is that, right? That's the obvious question. So we're going to look at the very, very short Tosfos. Then we're going to look at the Ritva with two explanations, then a few words in Iran, and then Mishnah Berurah. Okay, ready, steady, go. Says the Tosfos. First of all, when did it actually happen? Says the Tosfos. Nire, yeah, Nire lerashba. This is the third Tosfos from the end of the page. Nire lerashba de b'shloshoso ayri. The Barbosa Alamaskir Livdoik. Taisvas kind of deals with at least part of the problem. And he says the story is in the 13th, meaning if this whole Maisa happened, what I said was the 14th, that was Rashi. Yeah, I think it's Rashi, or I'm pretty sure it's Rashi, or the other Rishonim that I saw. Definitely the Ran says it's the 14th. Bekitzer. Toysa says that this whole sad story happened on the 13th. Why? Because if it was the 14th, it's definitely the Chiyuv of the Maskir, meaning this take care of half the problem. Let's say the Mesiras Meftech was 14 in the morning, yeah. So 14 by night, Mr. Liar Maskil, yeah, was still there. Then he can't claim against me, you probably want to do the mitzvah. Don't give me this from kite. That's your mitzvah, not mine, right? The 14, you, Mr. Maskir, you're supposed to do the bdika, right? If you give it to me on the 13th and it was assumed to be nivdak, then I can understand that really if I have the key before Orlar Basar, normally I'm supposed to be boidik. And then you can, I'm not saying after Tosis I'm fully happy, I'm building up towards somewhere. But I can hear that since it's normal and halachically true that by Orlar Basar, I'm the soicher, I'm the purga, I'm the misken, I'm the one that was lied to. If I was the soicher but the 14th by night, I'm supposed to do the schirus, the bdika, right? It is my mitzvah. Then just because the guy, yeah, told me or I assumed he was Baduk, maybe he's a liar. He's not a nice guy. He's a bad guy, maybe, or whatever reasons he has. But Lamai said the mitzvah is my mitzvah, and there is an inyan to do bdika by the 14th by night. You should know people do that. I don't know. You have married children. I know some married children. Also, when I was young, even the shviger did everything, and the shver they still do a kinyan on the room to be mekayim b'dikas chometz. There is such a sheet of the chinuch, I think, and others. Yeah. So the Maisa, there is an inyan to the bdikas chometz. So then I can say, even it was assumed or understood, we're going to deal with that also. Why did I think it's bothered? The Maisa, 14 manat is my mitzvah. I can't claim it's make a toast and cancel the deal. Yeah, that's Tosfos. That's the beginning of the way, but that helps us partially. But if it's a 14th, mapitom, that's a chutzpah. I'm not supposed to come. Yeah, our boss are by day. We're not supposed to burn the chometz. Supposed to do everything else. I then have to do b'dikas chometz. You were supposed to do the maskir. That's for sure now. That's Tosfos. Now we're going to go to the Ritva. Let's see the Ritva. 1 second. Yeah. Okay, the Ritva, maybe I should have told you to bring Ritvas, but you'll have it even about that. Says Ritva as follows. Iksharit, the Rit is asking the question loud and clear. Marit, Kevin al Menaski and Schoi. Oh, the Marit understands that there was a clear condition. They spoke. He advertised on WhatsApp, I have a clean kosher Pesach unit, yeah, and what? The Akpid Badovo. And the guy said, the Soicher said, yes, I want a clean for Pesach unit. If so, Makani Bailan. What's even the question? How can it say it's mekachtos? The Amina Nichel the Inish, he's happy about it? How can he say he's happy? The Chazin and the Kapid. We see that he was particular and said, I want to clean for Pesach place. So how can you be so self-righteous and talk to him against his own will, right? The Tiretz Dachikoma, answer number 1. Hamaskir bais lechaver b'yudaled shehu, let me scream, min hastam b'cheskas boduk. Oh, which means, yeah, that's answer number 1. We're not talking about a condition. We're talking here about what? We're talking here about a regular home. Nothing was spoken. Nothing was said. Because we know that a regular home of a frum yid is mistome Muchzak, probably, possibly, very possibly to be what? Clean for Pesach, but it's not for sure. Nobody told you it's kosher Pesach. You assume so because most from Eden, with a kippah on the head, have b'dikas chametz. But it's not 100%. We said that before too, right? Mimela, now you can't claim. You didn't say, I want to clean for Pesach house. It's not mekachtos, right? Then we can say it's a 50-50. We don't know what you wanted. Nothing was clearly said. You didn't advertise clean for Pesach. You assumed he was clean for Pesach. Now you're telling me you're all raging and saying he lied. He didn't lie. Elamai, still I'm not happy with that. Now we say, why are you screaming in Beis Din? Now Rashi comes in handy. Rashi said because you found a different apartment. We don't believe you that's a real reason, because we assume that unless known otherwise, just like there's a chazaka that houses are checked, there's a counter chazaka that you didn't like to do b'dikas chometz, and you're a yid. And mimel, at the end of the day, you can't cancel the deal. That's answer number one. He rejects that answer for other reasons, and I don't want to go into details now. Yeah, ve'anochoin. Here comes another final answer of the Ritva, and that is as follows. Which means, let's say this, as I said originally, the masker did fly away to Barbados. Yeah. So now, had the masker be here, the masker is Takir Schwindler. The second answer is the masker said it is Boduk, and he lied. The masker is not a nice guy. Yeah. However, if the masker was here, we would get the masker back and say, you come here and you do the bdika because I was planning on doing other things. Yeah. And if it costs money, you pay the money, not me. All very nice. And Bezin would endorse the soicher to not, the masker can't become from and say, it's your mitzvah. No, you said you're going to check it, you're going to clean it. Come here and do the checking. And if not, pay for it. Customer service and honesty. So what's the question? The question here comes the climax of the sugya. What did I tell you at the beginning? What's the question of the sugya? The question is not if he has to check or not. The question is does that completely cancel the whole deal? Is it a mekach tos? If I, let's say, sell you a cake instead of shoes or shoes instead of cake, and that's mekach tos. But let's say I told you I'm going to sell you, I don't know, a green cake with 3 strawberries, and really it's dark green with 2 strawberries. I'm not nice. I'm not professional. I'm Israeli service. Not supposed to. It's mekachtos, right? The difference is not that bad. Yeah, to cancel the deal. There's a difference between giving compensation and complete cancellation. To cancel a deal, that's big business, and that's the answer of the Ritva. Hakami bailan yadik peida gumura. Is it considered to be so outrageous, crazy kpeida lemedi mekachtos? To completely cancel the deal, he stresses legamre. Do we say that the fact it's not boduk, so outrageous, such a blatant lie, in the essence of the schirus, it's like selling shoes instead of cake. Didn't call mekachtos de alma, right? He needs to check it, but he didn't. He flew away, right? And now I'll cancel the deal. Oh, which means that bad it's not. You know why? And if the masker is not here, by the way, the Ritva says something very important. If I, the Soicher, had to pay money and get Chaim Yankel for 500 shekel to check, I'll pocket it now, I'll fork out the money now, and later I'll have to reimburse me the 500. Let's summarize, which means, says the Ritz as follows, yeah? The maskir promised, the maskir lied, maskir is not, don't offer him as a shidduch for my daughter, as I like to say, and the maskir should, if he's not yet, if he didn't arrive at Ben Gurion yet on his flight to America, he should jolly well come back and do the b'dika. And if he's not there, I'll do the b'dika and he'll reimburse me. When we said I'm happy to pay money, it means to lend money. So when do we side with the maskir and say that the soicher is happy to do a mitzvah? The ability, the willingness of the soicher to do the mitzvah is strong enough not to cancel the deal. The deal is a deal. The deal is a deal. Yeah. If the masker is not there, I'm sorry. What can you do? The masker is not there. So you do it yourself because there's no choice. You, the soicher. We sympathize with you, but we know that there are two elements here. Mitzad echad, you're really unhappy. We know that. But you're not that unhappy to do the bdika yourself to cancel the deal. To get to the level of mekach tos, that bad it's not. Because of nichel leinish, a yid wants to do a mitzvah. So now it's very nice and very balanced. And what about the fact that you spent money? He'll have to reimburse you on the money. But it's not that bad that you can't, like, as we say in Hebrew, lishbor es hakelim. You can't cancel, go crazy, and say it's not a deal. And I'm not paying. I'm not even lending. Some people will talk like that. I'm not even interested on forking and lending 1 shekel. No, we assume that you as a yid, yeah, you're not really being honest with yourself. You're happy enough to do the bdika or to, yeah, fork out as a loan the 500 shekels. That's a ritva. So the ritva took us one way. The Ran, we really don't have as much time as I hope to have. The Ran says differently. I'll just read the end of the Ran because there's no time. The Ran basically says that the Ran says Azai. The Ran says that he doesn't have to pay. Meaning the Ran sides with the masker even more. Yeah. The Ran says there are two separate sugyas here. Don't get emotional, says the Ran. Mitzad the chiyuv hilchosi of the maskil, he says against Tosfos. Even if the rent is against Tosfos and against the Ritva. Even if the rental was on the 15th and the maskir did not fulfill his mitzvah, the maskir mitzad mitzvahs is a bad guy. He should have checked it. We're right. And he shouldn't have lied. Right now, says the Ritva, we're not talking about who's chayiv to check. It's the 15th in the morning. Of course, last night, who should have checked? The maskir, who ran away very conveniently. He's not a nice man. But leinian dina sheklinan veterinan. We're not dealing now with who has to do the bdika mitzad ilchas Pesach. We're dealing in a Beis Din case. We're dealing with a Beis Din case of dina, of choshen mishpat, of monetary laws. Maskina delavi mekachtos. Like similar to the Ritva, that bad, that much you can't go crazy and red in the face to say it's a whole cancelled deal. Then ichal alinish likuma mitzvah afil b'mamoyne. Ooh, stronger than the Ritva. Even if you need to fork out money, you pay the 500 shekels to a chamyankel to do the bdika, and it will not reimburse you. The soicher cannot claim from the maskir the money back. Why not? The maskir didn't gain anything from that. Why are you asking him the 500 shekels? Because he lied to you? That's very gromadik, I guess, according to the Ran. And the maskir did not gain anything by you getting chamyankel to check the house. The mitzvah belchuda the maskir. There's a mitzvah on him to do it. Yeah, but it's not something that he was gained lemaisa. He didn't do the mitzvah, but there's no chiyuv of money regarding him. So that bekitzer, so we have different levels here. So simachlokas rishonim. According to that, we're going to see that in the Mishnah Berurah. We'll start today the Mishnah Berurah. Yeah. So what's the story? Let's summarize. There is a case here of a person who, according to the second pshat of the Ritva and the Ran, the person, even if the person promised, Hadas is clean for Pesach, is he an honest guy? No. Good guy? Let's be down the kaf's chus. I don't know. Maybe his mommy wasn't nice to him when he was a kid, like they say in court. I don't know. Lemaisa, what's Lemaisa? According to the Ritva, there's definitely a tvia. And if the maskir is there, call him back to do the bdika, and he should do the bdika. Money, he should also pay according to the Ritva. Yeah? Elamai, it's not as bad as creating a mekachto situation. To say, I'm packing my bags and I'm canceling the deal, you know how much Pesach in Yerushalayim? 20,000 shekels, yeah? For an apartment, if it's near a Rebbe. Yeah, I've heard of such cases. Yes, I'm not exaggerating. Or the Chagim, maybe I'm confusing. Maybe for the whole of Tishrei, but it's a lot of money. So the 20,000 shekels deal cannot just fall through. The guy did not fulfill the condition. That condition is not intrinsic enough to cancel the deal. It's bad enough for you to claim back the money of the checking, which is not 20,000 shekels, it's 500 shekels. Yeah? According to the Ran, even one step further, even that money cannot be claimed back from the maskil. We're more or less the same as the Ritva, but even that. And another machloikis, the Ran says, even if the bdika took place on the 14th, when the master was halachically supposed to do it. You screaming, it's not fair, it's not fair. It's not fair, mitzvah, that he should have done his mitzvah. He also should have put on tefillin, maybe didn't. He should have been nice to his mother, and he wasn't. But mazik kashur elecha. Mitzad dinim mominus, mitzad Reuven and Shimon, it's not strong enough again to cancel the deal. That's the main point here, right? According to Tosfos, no. According to Tosfos, it is connected. And if the person didn't do the bdika on the 14th, then the soicher is not supposed to do the bdika of the soicher. Yeah. Ooh, we're going to see halacha soon. We're going to see halacha. We'll start seeing the halacha now and continue tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem. Today's Tuesday. Okay. Tomorrow I should be here, Be'ezus Hashem. Yeah, I should be here tomorrow. Oop. Yeah. I'm looking at Mishnah Berurah, Taf Lamed Zayin. Let's start. We don't have much time, but let's give it a go. We'll only read the Shulchan Aruch now inside Taf Lamed Zayin. Taf Lamed Zayin, we're just going to read the Mechaber and the Ramah for now. Maybe we'll elaborate more tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem. Person who rents out his house to his friend who has obligation of bir chametz. Yeah. In other words, in order for his friend to live there in Yudalid, remain of elach, meaning that what? He's supposed to stay there for Pesach, like many, many people do. He rented a house for Pesach. Which means, as all Rishonim said except for Rashi, yeah, when does the soicher become obligated to do the bdika? If you already had this kinyan schirus. What are one of the things of kinyan schirus? Kesef, tar, or chazaka, yeah? Plus, now we need another condition. Im ad shalom asal maftach chal yudaled. If he did not yet give him the key, and the 14th by night, meaning the chiyuv moment, boom, came in while the key is still in the hands of the maskir, the landlord. Al maskir livdoik. Why? Because the Rishonim said we're not sure who's chayev. The two tzdodim here, the Tosfos, the Ran, everybody. Since the key represents the fact that he has access to the house, you have access to the house. You got to check it. If the soicher received the key before Zman HaChiyuv, receiving the key means I'm giving you access. Not only am obligated to give you the place for Pesach, because we already did the money and the shtar v'chulei, but I'm also giving you physical access to the house. You got the code, you got the key, you got the card, whatever. Today there are many ways. Once you have the physical access, then you, Mr. Soicher, you have to check it if the access was given to you before Zman Bdika. Yeah, that's very clear. We hopefully will see some Mishnah Berurah tomorrow. Beis. We'll do just that and then we'll go to Ma'ariv. I don't know if the guy checked it or not, and I don't know how frum the guy is. If he's in town, you see, don't rely on chazaka unless it's your wife feeding you nice kosher food. But this guy, I don't know who, and also the guy may be more lax because it's just b'dikas chametz, whatever. So if he's in town, you better ask him if he checked. If he's not in town and he's not answering the phone or the WhatsApp, we assume that it's baduk. All the soicher has to do is cancel the chometz, bitul chometz. How can he annul the chometz of the maskil? Because the maskil bequeathed him the chometz. It's given to him now. He has to do bitul chometz. We have to go now. So tomorrow, Be'ezus Hashem, we're going to see Gimel and Daled. Yeah, Gimel is the one we learned today. Gimel is the hot gun here, with the whole sichsuch between maskil and that's Gimel and Daled. These things happen. These things happen, so you have to know what's the halacha. It shouldn't happen to any of us, but Be'ezus Hashem Nasiv and Etzliach, hopefully now tomorrow, I hope you don't mind, we're going to skip another daf, because again, we have a daf who's less connected to halacha, okay? And we'll go to the next Negal Halacha Sugya. Thank you very much. Etzlochu, bracha b'chol tuv to everybody. Thank you to everybody here in Ma'am Loez, to everybody on Torah.